In the beginning of the movie we see a man named Eric. He is walking around the woods with his injured leg. After wandering for a long, he decides to build a tent in the woods and rest for a night. While sleeping at midnight he gets a panic attack and feels uncomfort. Suddenly the trees outside his tent start burning. In the morning, the forest area around him is burnt down. But he and his tent are safe. The wound on his leg keeps spreading and he decides to move to the town nearby. He breaks into a clinic and steals some medicines to cure himself. While cleaning his wounds, he realizes that he looks dirty. He decides to trim his hair and changes his looks. Then he heads outside to start his journey. Some bully guys spot him and start harassing him for their enjoyment. Eric shouts not to touch him or he will burn them alive. But the bully ignores the warning and grabs him. Suddenly the boy collapses and dies without having a touch of the man. After that the homeless man is arrested by the police for a murder. The police chief Henrik calls a psychiatrist Christine to speak with Eric. Henrik tells her that Eric is also a suspect in the fire incident at a farm that killed 5 lives. The man is sitting in the corner of the room and denies to talk to everyone. Somehow she manages to convince him to sit at the table. She tries to make him relax and says that he is not responsible for the past incidents. She asks Henrik to remove his handcuffs. Later, Ola's parents come to the station and his father Bjorn requests the police to meet the man. But the police disapprove the request. Afterwards, the suspect admits that he killed some people on the farm that turns out to be his relatives. After talking a while, he decides to show his secret powers to Christine. He pulls the water up from a glass and she gets shocked to see it. She asks him to explain her how he got these powers and Eric says he himself is unaware about this magic. Later he burns the table with his hands and she gets scared. He fails to control his powers and is about to burn the whole station. Just then Christine realizes that Eric's emotions control his powers. So she helps him to focus on his emotions. Eric manages to control his feelings and stop the burnout. Afterward, the US Embassy officer named Hathaway arrives in Norway to bring Eric back to America. But the man refuses to talk to anyone except the psychiatrist. She tells them that he can't travel in the helicopter because it is very dangerous for him. But the officers denies the request and take Eric unconscious in the flight. Suddenly Eric wakes up from anesthesia in midway and starts to feel panic for being tied up. He fails to control his powers and creates a thunderstorm which crashes the helicopter into the sea. While drowning Eric realizes that he can breathe inside the water and burn the seat belt with his powers. He also saves Hathaway and disappears after she becomes conscious. The rescue team arrives and finds 3 dead bodies. Meanwhile Christine watches the news about the crash and decides to go to the spot. But Eric meets her outside her house and she takes him to a secret location. He tells her that he got his powers at his family farm and explains the fire accident caused by him. On the other side, Agent Hathaway shows Chafe some proof saying that the man can control the weather. She tells him that he is responsible for the crash. She says that they have to catch the man as soon as possible. The next day, the psychiatrist receives a call from her friend telling her that she is saving a criminal. She is advised to surrender Eric back to the police. When Eric gets up she explains him the situation and apologies for her friend's actions. Before falling apart, she hugs him and realizes that she feels for him. But she hides her emotions and changes her decision. She decides to take him back to the farm to know about his powers. The chief is calling her but she throws her phone into the water. At the gas station, she learns that FBI is looking for Eric because he is responsible for the helicopter crash and officer's murder. While driving away, he tells her that he gets dreams of a strange world and encounters a big tree that fills the whole space. A while later, Christine tries to overtake a big truck. In the haste, their car is almost collided with another car in the opposite direction. This scares Eric and he makes a thunderbolt that destroys their vehicle. But somehow they manage to save their lives. After their car breaks down, they get a lift by that truck driver. Later the cops arrive at the accident spot and Hathaway says that the man is not allowed to cross the bridge leading to the another city. Then we see the duo is already arrived at the bridge. The cops have set up a trap for them. Meanwhile the truck driver learns that he is saving a criminal and he immediately gets out of the truck. Then Eric decides to surrender himself and approaches to the police. Christine follows him and requests the cops to down their guns but they don't listen and capture her. Eric shouts at them to release her but they don't agree. This makes him angry and he loses his control. Suddenly the sky turns black with thunderstorm and the lightning begins to strike. Eric screams in pain and tries to control lightnings. Christine rushes to him and tries to calm him down. The cops keep walking towards them which makes him more rages. He uses his powers to create a lightning cage until he falls down. Henrik arrives and instantly takes Eric to the hospital. Later, the bridge incident goes viral and everyone starts to believe that the man is the god. Some of the locals claim that he is Thor, the god of thunder. At the hospital, his wounds are getting worse and the doctors decide to perform MRI scan. The psychiatrist tries to keep him relaxed during the scanning. When the process starts, the man accidentally destroys the machines with his powers and causes a power cut at the hospital. Suddenly a nurse comes there and announces that a boy is having a cardiac arrest and needs a shock therapy. Eric gets up and instantly runs towards the ICU to save the boy. When he is walking to the room, Ola's father comes there with a gun in his hand and shoots him. Henrik stops Bjorn and lets Eric to enter the ICU. He saves the boy with his powers. Now the boy is out of his coma and everyone gets emotional. From this time, Eric becomes popular and the crowd begs him to grab their hands. Later he continues his journey with Christine and Henrik to the farm. On their way, he gives her a book on Norse mythology to the psychiatrist. He explains her that after the death of Thor in Ragnarok, his children built a secret farm. He tells her that he believes it is the same farm where he gained his power. When they reach the location, Henrik and Christine explore the place and they stop Eric outside. But he follows them and come across to a burnt spot where he is brought to his knees. He feels unable to move at the spot. Henrik says that something is hidden there and orders his men to dig the place. Later, Hathaway arrives there with military and spy on their activities. They hold their positions to kill the man at the right time. Henrik team finds a secret cave under the farm and get ancient Norse stones. They also discover a depiction of an ancient tree which Eric talked about to Christine. After completing the inspection, Henrik lets Eric to enter the cave. He gets shocked to see the depiction and comes across a wooden box. He opens the mysterious box and finds Thor's magical belt, gloves and a hammer called Mjolnir. He put on all things and holds Mjolnir in his hands. The hammer starts flickering and suddenly a lightning bolt strikes from the sky. But this time the lightning doesn't burn his body as the Mjolnir absorbs all the energy. Then he comes out of the secret cave and Christine walks to him. Just then Hathaway orders the sniper to kill Eric, but the bullet misses and hits the girl, killing her instantly. Eric goes mad and tries to revive her. But he fails to bring her back to life. Then he loses his control and creates a massive thunderstorm with the hammer. The storm strikes the people nearby the location. Later the media announces that the thunderstorm at the farm has caused a large number of casualties and the lightning man has mysteriously disappeared. Make sure you have subscribed and turn on all notifications, so you can watch more movies like this.